Hello everyone, very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of correlation and regression, we will be considering the price development so far, which have guided us in defining the momentum which we can try to exploit. If we consider the major moves in today's session, the USD JPY is the mover of the day. You can look at its chart and it has gained substantially from the low levels around 150 pips, and it is even now it is rising firmly. Whereas if we consider other forex currencies, they are mostly subdued with dollar US dollar having a upper hand. So let us now head to the JForex for the newly released trading platform, where we will talk about the relative strength and weaknesses of these various forex currency crosses to see if there are emerging opportunities which we can take advantage of in the session. As the US session is going to start very soon, we have to gear up for the increased volatility in the initial hours of the US session. And if we have the plan in place, if we have figured out the momentum and also the instruments to go with the flow, then we will be in a better position to take advantage of these developments. Now, if we consider the price move so far, let's consider the Euro USD's pricing mechanism first. There is the Euro USD chart with the each candle period defined at 5 minutes, and I have added these SMA 12 and SMA 24 to get the price range, average price over last 1 hour and 2 hour respectively. And to get the range for last 2 hours and 4 hours, I have added the Donchian channel 24 and 48 respectively. So this gives us the immediate price momentum on which side have shaped up. If there is increased volatility or if things are subdued, we can get from there onwards. It has gone on to decline. It is even now in a declining phase with this new fresh low happening at 1.08. Now, in this backdrop, the best thing to do is to keep looking for the opportunities to go long in the dollar and go short in the currency which is having the most bearish momentum against the dollar. So if it is a euro or if it is another currency, GBP, AUD, CHF, JPY, or for that matter CAD, we will have to draw the correlational analysis, and using that we can then figure out the best currency to trade while taking advantage of this price formation where the US dollar is having the upper hand. Now, if we consider this price formation here is bearish, and even if we consider this larger time frame charting for the Euro USD, it is going sideways. It is not really going anywhere. For last couple of days it has traded in this range with this upper move being capped just little below 1.09. Even in today's session, though the gap is quite large, even in today's session the initial momentum was pushing the Euro USD high, and now here we have the swift move on the lower side with the possibility of Euro USD continuing to decline towards this prior swing low, the immediate swing low, which is there around 1.078. So that possibility is quite strong. Let me zoom in so that we are able to read the value in a better manner. Okay, so here here if we consider this hourly chart for last couple of days, we have this price formation with this consolidation range, and the underlying bias on a weekly charting frame has been bullish for Euro USD for a couple of days. So Euro USD is not exactly bearish, though it is finding resistance on the higher side and declining in today's session. But we have to keep that in the larger scheme of things. It is simply consolidating with this range with the resistance coming into play around 1.09 thereabout, and support just little this timeline, we have to start comparing the Euro USD's trajectory with the other major currencies so that we can figure out which is the most bearish currency against the dollar, and where we can try to get involved for the further capturing of the momentum. If we expect the dollar to remain strong, then of course the next thing is to figure out the optimum level on which we can get involved and take advantage of the situation. So here the Euro USD went on to make this immediate swing low, 4 hourly low at 13:55 GMT. Now let's see in comparison to other major forex crosses. AUD/USD made this immediate swing low at 13:35 GMT. So you can see that the AUD is weaker compared to the Euro bearish. If we consider the price moves for the GBP, it was declining substantially earlier in the day, and then went into a consolidation phase. For last couple of hours, it hasn't really declined much. It has been finding support closer to this swing low formed at 1.233. From there on, it has bounced twice. Even now, even though the dollar's momentum is strong, the GBP has found support closer to this immediate swing low and has been rebounding. But if we look at its price formation on this 4 hourly timeline, it has been declining from early in the day, starting from the Asian trading session. So it hasn't even made a fresh 4 hourly high. So that puts it below or behind the euro in the momentum. It is more bearish, or you can say less bullish than the euro in today's session. So we have to give more weightage for any short selling opportunities to be taken in the GBP compared to the euro, even though the immediate price formation is not that looking bearish, but still the larger picture is pretty bearish for the GBP. Let's consider the hourly charting. In the hourly charting, it is simply consolidating after the strong move which we have seen over last couple of days, and now it seems to be finding some support closer to this immediate swing low. And if it does go on to make a low which is below this immediate swing low, then we will have the price formation of lower low and lower high. So that will be a interesting development. But as of now, the GBP is indeed finding support, so we will have to trade carefully at the current levels. And AUD is more bearish than the euro if we look at this timeline, whereas if we consider the GBP is also much more bearish than the euro. So in today's session, the three currencies which we have seen so far are pointing to the bullish momentum in the dollar, and all we have to do is keep looking for the opportunities to buy the dollar and sell these major currencies. Now if we consider the GBP starting, we have to decide whether it is more bearish or less bearish than the AUD. And since it hasn't really even made a immediate 4 hourly swing high, we have to place it as the more bearish than even AUD. So we have now this ranking of the momentum, with the GBP being the most bearish, AUD following it, and Euro being the least bearish of the three currencies which we have seen so far. Now let's consider other major currencies. We also have to consider NZD. In case of CHF has also traded with this bias on the bearish side. It has declined against the dollar, with USD CHF gaining ground after making this low at 0.9140. The USD CHF has risen almost 100 points from the low levels, and it is looking like one of the most bearish currency. But then in comparison to the GBP, let's see where it stands. For the USD CHF, we have this immediate swing high in place. So now the formation is of higher highs and higher lows on this hourly charting. So we have to place it even ahead of the GBP, and if we consider the price formation for last couple of hours, it has risen substantially, so that gives it more weight in the immediate scheme of things. And for us, the immediate price mechanism is very important if we have to trade with lower time frame horizon. If we have to trade with shorter time frame horizon, we have to always keep in mind the immediate price trajectory. On that count, the CHF seems to be on the more bearish side even compared to the GBP, so we will have to place it ahead of the GBP in this bearish momentum against the dollar. Let's see where NZD stands. For the NZD, it is more of an consolidation phase. It is not really moving that sharply. It has made this immediate swing low just now, so that puts it as one of the least bearish currency against the dollar in today's session in particular, where most of the currencies are losing ground and dollar is gaining in strength. So in this context, the NZD seems to be able to hold its ground, and it is not declining much. The range is quite narrow for the NZD. It is not moving much. So we will have to keep an eye on NZD for a possible reversal. So whenever we get the consolidation and then the signs of possible reversal in the dollar's movement momentum, in that context, I think we will have this NZD USD as the first preference, first choice for a possible trade. In the opposite side, we can think about going long in the NZD USD if we get further confirmation of the dollar's growth stalling, and after due consolidation we can even think about that. Right now, as it is looking as the least bearish currency against the dollar. Now let's consider USD CAD, USD JPY. Okay, so this is the chart for USD JPY, and JPY is the most bearish currency against the dollar in today's session. It has gone on to make these higher highs, and it looks likely to climb towards 131. It is again getting back toward this immediate swing high which it formed a couple of days back on 18th January, and now it is climbing and climbing. So here, if we consider the price formation for the USD JPY in today's session, it is showing this continuous rise from the lower levels of around 128, and even now after this substantial rise already having taken place, we are not really seeing any let off in the steam. So in that context, the JPY is the least bullish, or you can say most bearish currency against the dollar, even ahead of the CHF, which we had earlier ranked as the bullish, or sorry, the JPY we have seen so far. The USD JPY is the instrument where you can keep an eye on for possible correction and then a new entry point for a further move towards 131. So that possibility is quite strong for the USD JPY. Let's consider now the USD CAD. This is the USD CAD, and it seems to be not moving much in comparison to the USD JPY. Its moves are fairly shallow, so the CAD seems to be holding its ground. It is not losing much of its ground. So we have to place the CAD as one of the stronger currency in today's session. It is not exactly bearish, and now we can compare it to the price formation of the NZD to see if it is the least bearish or whether the NZD takes that crown. NZD made this immediate swing low at 1550 GMT. For USD CAD, let's see the timeline. USD CAD made this low earlier, so that puts the NZD as the least bearish, as CAD is seems to be more bearish than the NZD in its timeline of this rise and decline. And with this, we have seen the major currencies trading against the dollar in today's session, with JPY being the most bearish of all the currencies in today's session, while NZD is the least bearish. So if you have to go with the flow, keep looking for the opportunities to buy the dollar. In that case, the USD JPY is a standout performer. You can keep an eye on it and go for the buy trade whenever you get a better risk reward ratio or optimum entry point. And the round it is holding firmer to the immediate swing. We haven't really seen any big moves in the US equity futures even during the European trading hours. So now if we consider the trading opportunities, the immediate momentum is, of course, bearish. It has been making these lower lows and lower highs for last couple of days. So in this kind of scenario, it becomes very difficult to keep an eye for a trade on the opposite side. I think we should keep looking for the opportunities to go short only. But given the fact that it has already seen the substantial decline, we will have to be cautious and trade with due care. The Dow is of course much more bearish than the DAX, and I had reiterated that the Dow is the most bearish of all the major equity indices, so it has continued to decline substantially. Now for the DAX, it has made this immediate 4-hourly high and it is consolidating, but I would not really suggest much of an buy trade in the DX. Rather than that, we can keep looking for the short selling opportunities. The Dow is also consolidating closer to its lowest price point, so there is not much of an upside pull from these low levels. Now in today's session, we have to decide whether the DAX is holding firm, or if we have even the US equity indices which can show some retracement. So for S&P 500, it seems to be holding closer to this 3900 level, but if we have to consider it trade worthy, we will have to look at its range, and it is moving just in between these range. The immediate low is below at 3885, so it is not really the price level where you can go for a long trade, but it is less bearish than the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So for any trade to be taken in the hope of continuation of the momentum, the Dow is of course going to be a clear winner for the short selling opportunities. And for a possible reversal, we have to also take a look on the Nasdaq to see how things stand. Nasdaq is apparently the least bearish of all the three key equity indices for the United States. Even in yesterday's session, its decline was comparatively less compared to the decline which we saw in case of S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And today also it is having the momentum on the higher side. So for a retracement move, I think we can keep an eye on the Nasdaq, but for a continuation trade, for momentum to be captured in a trending environment, the Dow is going to be a natural choice in this scenario. So you will have to look for the opportunities with the optimization technique in place, so that if you happen to be on the wrong side of the trade, you shouldn't be losing too much money. And if you get it right, then of course our main task is to make and maximize our profit. So we have the bearish momentum, most bearish momentum in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and the least bearish momentum in the Nasdaq for US equity futures. So that's my assessment for today's session of correlation and regression analysis, where we saw that in the currency space, JPY is the most bearish currency against the dollar, and the NZD is the least bearish currency against the dollar. And in the equity space, the Dow is leading the bearish charge, whereas the Nasdaq is firmer for the day and last couple of days also. So we will have to go for the contra trend trade in the Nasdaq and with the trend trade in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So that's my assessment of the relative strength and weaknesses of these various financial instruments. So thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous time ahead, a profitable day ahead. See you on Monday. Have a fabulous weekend. Goodbye.